What's up everyone, it's your FPL ThinkingCapFPL and welcome back to Meta Moves. To start off, we're going to have a discussion about the fixture schedule and how it should impact your personal transfer strategy in the short term. We're also going to have a discussion about Nico Jackson. Is this the time to sell? And of course, the entrance looks amazing for Man United assets, and we're going to cover Bruno Fernandes versus Amad Diallo. Thinking Cap activated. So guys, to kick things off, we've got the fixture schedule up first. It includes the Cup and European matches, so it's the complete version. There's a few key points to discuss. Number one, there's absolutely no reason to be making early transfers this week. The first round of the FA Cup is in a few days, with the GAMEWEEK21 deadline being next Tuesday, a midweek. So do not be making early moves, especially for Man United and Arsenal assets, because both teams are likely to go somewhat full strength this weekend, and there could be quite a few injuries. So make sure you wait on that. Number two, there is some January fixture congestion for the teams in Europe, so I wouldn't be looking to make a lot of transfers in January, especially because the transfer window is also open. New players are going to come in. There will be a few players departing as well. So overall, I'm expecting changes to the league, and those changes will shift the FPL meta, which is why I believe if you've got a good starting 11, just continue with what you've got. Look to roll some free transfers during January, and you'll be sitting in a very powerful position come February, which is the ideal movement time, in my opinion. We should also be getting concrete info regarding the date and time for the very first double game week of the season, which will see Liverpool and Everton face up in either game week 24 or game week 25. After getting the confirmed info on that, I will have a better read on player minute projections for that double. So the key thing to take out of this segment is really don't be making big moves in your team this week and in the next few weeks if you can help it. If you absolutely have to make transfers, obviously wait till closer into the deadline, and your transfer targets definitely should be in line with your long-term chip strategy. I've got some FPL chip content coming very, very soon, so make sure you're subscribed to catch that when it drops in. So yeah, all of your transfers now, guys, they need to be in line with what your personal chip plan is, especially for blank game week 29. Are you looking to free hit that week? Are you looking to get through that blank with no chips and, use your free hit in one of the double game weeks post game week 30? All of these questions you need to be starting to ask yourself when you're looking to make moves right now. The two teams who reach the EFL Cup final won't play in game week 29. Obviously, Eddie Howe's Newcastle got a massive result this week with a 2-0 away win. So it looks like Newcastle have one steady foot into the final, which means Chelsea and Arsenal players will likely be fine and won't blank in game week 29. Right now, my personal strategy is leaning towards saving my free hit and just dealing with that blank game week naturally, because if we're assuming a Liverpool-Newcastle final, then the four teams to blank would be Liverpool, Villa, Newcastle, and Crystal Palace. I've got 5 assets from those teams, so if I can sell my Crystal Palace asset and one of my 2 Newcastle assets, I should be fine to get through that blank with 11 out of 11 players. And this is why it's so important to see and look at what's coming up in FPL, because let's say, for example, you guys are looking at saving your free hit like me. In that case, you should be avoiding these Aston Villa players, these Newcastle players, these Palace players, because they don't help you long term. They actually hinder your long-term squad security, and they don't fit within your personal chip strategy. Liverpool assets are a little bit different because they do have a double game week coming, so I think investment there is fine, but I prefer the game week 23 entrance point for Ipswich at home. That looks like the time to really get yourself prepared for the double with a triple up, so I'd wait until then to go really hard on Liverpool assets. If you are making transfers now, I think they have to be 4 players in that Merseyside double, so either Liverpool or Everton assets, but waiting a few weeks is also fine, which is why I would recommend rolling your free transfers as many as you can in January to further optimize your potential in February. If you can get a solid starting 11 out across the next few rounds, I'd seriously consider a patient approach in the short term. Is it time to let go of Nico Jackson? He's blanked 5 times in the last 6 games, and he's been benched a few times over December crunch, but Chelsea's fixture spacing is a little bit better over the next few weeks, which lowers rotation risk concern in the short term. Look, Jackson's performances, they have been disappointing recently because it's not like he's not getting chances. He has been getting chances. He hasn't been burying them. If you look at his underlyings, they are still very fantastic, and he's still comfortably in the current power curve. He hasn't dropped out of any of the top 5 in the key attacking metrics for strikers. So in terms of getting chances, there's no problems there. But I can understand he's a lot of money, and his current performances maybe make you look at making other upgrades in your team. Like I said before, I really don't see January as the optimal movement time, especially for attackers. So personally, I'll be sitting on Nico, at least for Bournemouth, who, by the way, will not have Evan Nilsson and Enes Ünal. Both of their starting strikers are out with long-term injuries, which doesn't necessarily improve Jackson's 21 potential, but it certainly weakens Bournemouth as a whole. From a fixtures perspective, I really don't see any problem with holding Jackson in the short term because he's predicted 2 out of 2 starts in the next 2 games, and both of those games are at home. Chelsea have a very, very good attack, and Jackson's output at Stamford Bridge has been pretty solid this season. After the 2 home fixtures, it's then Wolves, and then City, and then West Ham. So I think the fixture run is still pretty good. And for me, he's a hold. I really couldn't care about, he's dropping in value. I don't care about locking in a 0.1 million gain. Habits are so important in FPL. And if you're being influenced by small losses on player value, rather than focusing on points and timing maximization, then I'd recommend reevaluating parts of your personal management style. From a long-term perspective also, I am starting to doubt whether Nico is still that pick, because a couple weeks ago, I was pretty convinced that Nico Jackson was the long-term striker to own. But now with Mark Guiu coming into the picture, getting a few minutes off the bench, I am concerned because Nkunku had a disaster class. And I'm worried that Maresca hasn't turned around and said, okay, Jackson, you're my first choice guy now, because obviously I don't have anything else better. He's actually still looking for solutions because he hasn't just permaplayed Jackson. Instead, he's actually turning around to another striker option because obviously he still thinks there's something missing up front. If Jackson does get benched in any game from here on out, then I do think he'd be an instant sell. But in the short term, especially ahead of 2 home fixtures in 21 and 22, I don't think he's an issue, and he's someone I'm holding ahead of Bournemouth midweek. Getting a positive result at Anfield isn't for everyone, and considering our historical record over the last few seasons, it's definitely a real positive seeing Manchester United assets score points in one of the toughest fixtures for every team this season. Now, one of the reasons why United assets are excellent pickups is because they fit in with most long-term strategies, because Man United have Leicester away in blank game week 29, and they are guaranteed to play that week. So by picking up a United player, you'll be guaranteeing a very, very good fixture in 29. Despite all of that positivity, there's only 2 players who I'm genuinely considering from this Ruben Amorim outfit, and those 2 are Bruno Fernandes, priced at 8.3, as well as the cheaper Amad Diallo at 5.3 million. Both of them are sitting on double-digit GA this season, and I think both of their long-term minutes are relatively secure. Bruno is 100% nailed to start every game. Amad is a little less secure because as a Man United supporter, I've already seen Amorim really prioritize the Europa League by going strong in terms of lineup. Amad's injury record also hasn't been amazing since he's joined us a few years back, so I'm a little bit less convinced that he gets 100% of starts from now to the end of the season, but I'd estimate probably an 85 to 90% start rate, which is still incredible value at his current price. And price does have to come into the conversation because Amad has produced very similar numbers to Bruno. Fernandes has returned 1 more GA in comparison to Amad, but still, in my opinion, I expect Bruno to produce way more returns over the course of the season, and that's mainly down to the routes to points because he's got penalties, he's got the corners, he's got the free kicks as well, and he's also got the availability. The underlying data is weighted to Bruno, but it's not as big of a distance as you'd think. Actually, Amad has a slightly higher baseline BPS average in this moment, so it's clear, look, Amad will perform very well for what you're paying. You basically need to ask yourself, what are you looking for? Are you looking for reliability? Are you looking for long-term security? With Bruno, do you value routes to points, set pieces, penalties that highly to justify a 3 million price gap? Or do you want to try to chase the value? Are you looking for a budget enabler? Because if you are looking for the budget enabler, obviously you go Amad. If you want the reliable guy, that's going to be Bruno, because you're going to get another talisman in that 5-man midfield, and you won't have to be worrying about the occasional benching or anything. But if you're looking to get that value pick, obviously Ahmad is the guy. I've seen a few people saying Ahmad's on set pieces, in particular the left-sided in-swinging corners that he would supposedly be on, but actually he hasn't taken any corners in the last 2 league games, so maybe he's got a small share of them, but that's not a consistent route to points for Ahmad right now. In terms of concerns with Bruno, I've only got one, and that's the fact that Amorim has been utilizing him in most matches from a deep lying 8 role next to Ugarte. Yes, Bruno has been starting in the 10, but Mainu can't and won't play all of the minutes. Ugarte can't and won't play all of the minutes, which means you're going to see Bruno play deeper for a considerable chunk of the next patch of league games, which regresses his attacking potential compared to Ahmad, who will always be on the end of things in and around very attacking areas, because even if he's playing wing back, it doesn't really make that much of a difference because Amorim allows Ahmad in a wing back position to get still in very, very attacking positions. So I still think Ahmad is a good pick. I think Bruno is a good pick. I think both of them are good options. Bruno is the minutes guarantee and is better from a reliability standpoint, but Ahmad offers insane value if you're going to try to chase and go against the template Bruno pick. Ahmad's just a little bit less robust, which is why at the moment I do prefer Bruno, but if you need a budget midfielder, I would go with Ahmad, and I think both are good investments closer to the GameWeek 21 deadline. Now, it's a very, very rare sight for you guys to see me recommending an Everton player, let alone an Everton attacker, but like I said in the first part of the video, any transfers you use now should be to be preparing for the upcoming double game week and for the blank game week in 29. Everton will obviously double, and in D8 is someone I've had my eyes on for quite a long time. I will caveat that you need to be in the market for a budget forward, an 8th attacker, and your squad would have to be built in a 3-5-2, 3-4-3 hybrid, because starting Iliman every week is not ideal. Ndiaye's minutes have been excellent, so from a reliability perspective, there's no worries whatsoever. He's gotten 90 minutes in 8 of the last 9 Everton fixtures, and he scored their only goal in the last 5 against Man City. In terms of what he's produced this season, look, it's not great. Only 3 GA in 17 starts, but Dwight McNeil will be back in a few weeks, and he should be back for that double. McNeil is the entire Everton attack, in my opinion. There's a reason they cannot score without him, but Ndiaye should profit when McNeil returns from that knee injury, and with a double game week coming, I think he's an excellent 8th attacker in a hybrid FPL setup. The immediate fixtures are acceptable. Villa and Spurs have had their bad days defensively this season. Then he's got Brighton, who are in the same boat as Villa and Spurs. Then it's Leicester at home. And then assuming the double falls in Game Week 25 instead of Game Week 24, he'd have Palace away and Liverpool at home in that one. So if you're in need of a budget 8th attacker, I'd strongly consider him. Everton also have one of the best fixtures in blank game week 29 with West Ham at home. So he gives you that long-term lifespan up until your next wildcard. You're getting an extra fixture in the next few weeks. There's positives with Ndiaye as an asset. The main drawback is that obviously you're going to own an Everton attacker. Everton's attack are one of the worst in the league, but I still back them to get back into the goals once McNeil is fit, which makes Ndiaye someone I'd seriously consider. His underlyings aren't that great compared to all FPL strikers, but his baseline BPS is sitting at 11. That's actually the 3rd highest out of all of the strikers in the game. So if he does return, you're probably picking up a few pieces of the bonus pie. And whenever I watch them, Ndiaye is always the attacker who stands out. So for me, he's passed my personal eye test. If you've enjoyed this one and you're new around here, then hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and I'll speak to you in Best Captain. Peace.